Hello and welcome back to another episode of Go Ballistic here on the Scottish SunSport YouTube channel. Obviously been the international break. It has been a good week for Scotland, at least points wise. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but obviously still got everything going on with the Rangers manager situation to look at as well, and that's what we're going to look at first with Roger Hannah, who is back once again, and also Kris Boyd, after his little stint in the office last week, is now back at home. 1 week enough for you in here, Boydy?
Yeah. If I got expenses, I would maybe think about doing it a bit more often, but however, I can't be out of pocket to work. You know the drill.
Absolutely. Just you made it back to your carrying time last week as well, didn't you?
You didn't expect that answer, friend, right? Let's move on.
Swiftly moving on. Right then, let's get to the goings-on at Ibrox then. Rangers, for a week now, have been looking for a new manager. Steven Gerrard flying in for talks with the Ibrox Supremos last week. Then came that bombshell update on Saturday night that Gerrard had withdrawn again from the running to be Rangers manager. What's coming out is that he feels the timing isn't right. Roger, come to you first on this, and what do you make of what's going on just now?
Well, you said, Jonathon, we're looking for a manager for a week. They shouldn't have been. They should have been looking for a manager for several weeks, because I think everybody knew the Russell Martin experiment wasn't going to work, so they should have had a succession plan there. They should have had a plan B there. And they're now limping towards the United game at Ibrox on Saturday, and still no sign of a manager. The Steven Gerrard thing, starting last week with the Rio Ferdinand podcast, it put hundreds of thousands on Rio's podcast views. Good for him. It gets Steven Gerrard's name back out in all the English papers and all the Scottish papers, all over Sky Sports. Good for him. Not good for Rangers, because all it did was build up the hopes of the Rangers fans, and then they were knocked down again on Saturday night. So the pressure really is now on Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marat and Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell to find someone that is going to A, satisfy the Rangers support, and B's more important this time, Jonathon, get a team in the park that is more competitive than Russell Martin's teams were.
So, Boyd, we know it's not going to be Gerrard. Obviously, as I mentioned there, it's that the timing has been mentioned from that side of things.
Who's saying the timing though, Jonathon? Was it Steven Gerrard, or was it the football club?
That's the sources close to the situation that are telling us that.
I mean, the reason I ask, because nothing changed for Steven Gerrard going into the conversations to start with. He knew the squad, he knew what was happening. The only thing that I can think, I mean, he knew the timing when he started speaking to the club. So the only thing that I could think that is maybe throwing a spanner in the works is the whole Kevin Thelwell scenario, Patrick Stewart scenario. And I know a manager won't want to take on, effectively his bosses. But if Steven Gerrard has spoken to the owners of the football club and they have had good conversations, like we were led to believe happened, there might be, for me, a power struggle here. And Steven Gerrard to say, right, okay, I'm away right now because it's not for me. But I've got to be honest with you, and I don't know what Roger's thoughts is. It might be a ploy from Steven Gerrard, because as it stands right now, I really do not know where Rangers are going to turn to. Yeah. And it might be a case where they have to go back to Steven Gerrard with a begging bowl and say, listen, we need you to come here, and we're going to move the structure within the football club to allow you to come here. Because as it stands right now, Rangers are no further down the line. I think when you look at the names that have been mentioned, that ain't going to pacify the Rangers fans.
Boy, they had Billy Dodds in the radio yesterday. Just saying Danny Rohl, who now seems to be the bookies' favourite, odds-on favourite, wouldn't get down well with the Rangers support. I think Billy Dodds is talking sense. I don't think Danny Rohl would. Now, it strikes me as a really good...
All Ayrshire boys do, Roger. All Ayrshire boys do.
Listen, you don't need to tell me. I think Danny Rohl looks a good coach, 36 years of age, has already got a really good CV. He's worked at Bayern Munich. He's worked with the German national team. He worked under serious duress at Sheffield Wednesday. None of that prepares you to be a Rangers manager. None of it whatsoever. And now the names that are coming up yesterday: Slaven Bilic, Michael Carrick, Rafael Vicky. None of these guys would pacify the Rangers.
I think the Michael Carrick one, because he's obviously had associations with a big football club under similar pressures to Rangers in terms of Michael Carrick. you can cut some slack. Danny Rohl, as we've spoken about there, Roger, and you're 100% right, he might be the best coach in the world, but at 36, 37-year-old, because of what happened in the summer and that period of time that Rangers have had recently, he ain't going to be accepted. The fans, they won't be happy. But the one thing I will say is Rangers need to get a manager in. And whoever it is, the fans need to back him.
There's two things the Rangers board can do this week. As you say, you either go back to Steven Gerrard and say, right, Stephen, you've got some issues here. What can we do to resolve this situation? You tell us what we need to do to get you to come. If there is no resolution with Steven Gerrard, they need to go and get Derek McInnes. It's as simple as that. You said it at the start. They need to go and get Derek McInnes because they've messed around far too long. Everything they want to do, they seem to think they need to reinvent the wheel. They want to spend £8 million on Yusuf Chermiti when you can get Lawrence Shanklin for nothing. They seem to think, you know, they want to go and get another fancy name, some project coach to come in when Derek McInnes is on their doorstep. You know, they seem to think they should shop in Reese all the time rather than going to somewhere where you can, you know, just get something that's going to work and be comfortable and do the job for you. Derek McInnes took Aberdeen to trophies and cup finals and second in the league in Europe. It took them from playing Queen of the South in the Championship to playing European football, and he's taken Hearts to the top of the Premiership ahead of Celtic and miles ahead of Rangers. He is the best candidate by a country mile. Another good candidate would be Stephen Robinson, because these guys know the league, they know the players, they know how to win games, but the names don't seem fancy enough for the Rangers board, and it's ridiculous.
Roger, I don't know what you think, but if you are now Derek McInnes, you've not heard anything from Rangers. Well, we're led to believe you've not heard anything from Rangers from last week when, you know, Russell Martin was removed. You're at a club right now that's on the up. You've got an owner that's brought you to the and Tony Bloom, someone who, you know, the control of the football department, who has brought you to the club, backed you with a project that you feel as if is on the road to success. Why would Derek look at this now and say to himself, you know what, I'm fifth or sixth choice. I've shown for a number of years that I am good enough to manage Rangers Football Club, but they keep going away, as you say, away down this road, trying to find a name that's going to come in and you know, for them to say, we found, you know, the outstanding candidate that you know is going to take Rangers to success. If you're Derek, I would be having second thoughts now. I said it last week. If you went and got Derek McInnes, then you could have got a deal done last week. There's no doubt about it, because Derek has already turned down Rangers. If there was something to be done, last week was the time. Make the call, see what it was, get the contract sorted, and move from there. Now that this has went on a further week, I don't think if you're Derek McInnes, you'd be saying to yourself, what, I'm playing second, third, fourth fiddle to people that I know I'm better than. I've shown that I'm better than in the Scottish League. I know the league. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion anymore that even if they went to Derek McInnes, that it would drive back along that M8.
I know exactly the point. If that's the case, then to me, Stephen Robinson's better qualified to be Rangers manager than Danny Rohl or Slaven Bilic or Rafael Vicky or any of these other guys.
Don't disagree with you, but at the same time, we have spoken about Rangers neglecting Scottish football for players.
Yeah.
I can't see them going anywhere near it for a manager.
I agree with you, but I think that's wrong, Boydy. I think it's wrong. You know,
there's no doubt about it. I mean, it is. You should always. When you go,
they prioritised Chermiti over Shanklin. They prioritised the likes of Joe Rothwell over Josh Mulligan. That was a mistake as well. They just seem, it's almost a snobbery that, oh no, we can't take players or managers from Scottish clubs. No, we need to go and get fancier targets than that.
I think there's an acceptance as well, Roger. There's an acceptance.
Boydy, they let Lennon Miller leave the country for £4 million and they spend £3 on Emmanuel Fernandez from Peterborough, who can't get into the squad.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And another thing is as well, you know, I know it wasn't under, but people like Bajrami and who come in for big money, we all knew Lennon Miller was going to be, moving for that kind of ballpark figure. So I don't understand why You've allowed another Scottish talent to leave the country. Listen, maybe Lennon Miller didn't want to go to Rangers or Celtic for that matter. I mean,
ask the question.
But ask the question. And, you know, like the whole thing now, you look at what's been building in the stands at Ibrox for a number of weeks now. It's been toxic. I mean, there is no doubt about it. It's been toxic. This has now got to a stage where Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart, they can't do right for wrong now. They can't, because it doesn't matter. Whatever they do, they're going to be questioned. And that's why I think that.
But what have they done that's right?
Not a lot. Not a lot. But what I'm
exactly.
Even if they go and get what we think is a really, really good coach, or it might be a good coach to the football world, it's going to be the wrong decision. It's going to be the wrong decision. I mean, they're under massive pressure now. Massive pressure.
Huge pressure to the level. That's why I think they need to go and try Gerrard again. They need to go and try McInnes. They need to go and try Robinson, because the list of people that we've gone through, the guys who are getting mentioned, Danny Rohl at the top, nothing against Danny Rohl, but at 36 years of age, having taken Sheffield Wednesday to 20th and 12th and losing 4-0 to Russell Martin Southampton on the way, but can I tell you, that's not the CV of a Rangers manager. And if Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell think it is, then there's bigger problems than even we thought, I think, Boydy.
Yeah, but I think as well, in terms of the project that the project that we keep hearing at Ibrox, Rangers Football Club will never be a project. You cannot have. And by the way, I'm not saying if Steven Gerrard or Derek McInnes arrive at Rangers, they start winning trophies again, because it's a hard thing to do. You know, you would need.
They're 8th in the league. They need to start winning games.
Yeah, you know, 100%. I'm coming to that right now. 100%. But you look at. They would have more of a chance of winning games than the ones that's coming in, or potentially coming in. And for me, they've put themselves under massive pressure now, massive pressure. And it's not only, I mean, if they'd addressed the Russell Martin thing a few weeks ago, well, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, when it was done anyway, but it was like, oh no, we're just going to keep persevering with this and hope this works. It's just got worse. I mean, the toxic levels of it's through the roof. And and as I said, that's what it doesn't matter who they bring in now, because it's not Steven Gerrard or Derek McInnes. If that's they're going to be under massive pressure.
You know what they've been better doing, Boydy? They'd actually have been better not sacking Russell Martin that Sunday night after Falkirk, and just deciding, listen, we're going to sack this guy somewhere down the line. Let's get a new manager in place behind the scenes, so that when we press the button in Russell Martin, then 2 days later, here's your new manager.
Roger, you're saying that, and I agree with you, but that should have been the process 2 weeks before it actually happened.
Oh, yeah,
and that's what I believe, because
absolutely.
With the results that were there,
we all knew he was going to have to go. We all knew he was going to have to go.
Yeah, and you've got to have a contingency plan. You've got to have a contingency. There's no getting away from it. The day that a manager arrives at a football club, you've then got to start looking for your next one. That's what happens, or that's what should happen. It doesn't. 100%. But you know, even any other bit, we all hear football clubs are businesses now. Any other business puts a structure in place that if the top one leaves, somebody will move up, or you've got other people. You're keeping an eye on other businesses to see, right, okay, what's that person doing? I might go for them. Sorry, not only Rangers, but in football in general, it's all short-sighted. Nobody looks beyond, unless you're a club that has got a plan. And maybe circumstances change for them as well. The obvious one would be Brighton, where they always seem to have a contingency plan. You'd imagine that will be the same now with Hearts going forward. It's definitely the same at Union Saint-Gilloise as well, who, again, they've just lost another manager to Monaco the other day there, and they've replaced it. But they've always got a contingency plan there. Whereas you look at a lot of football clubs, and it's like one person leaving and the whole thing breaks down. And this is going back to the summer. I felt as if for Rangers, because of the way it is, they hadn't been winning trophies, the fans were demented, they were angry. The change of manager all the time wasn't good for the football club. There is no getting away from that, because once the manager gets changed, he then brings in 7 or 8 players, and then all of a sudden he gets sacked a year later. Then there's another 7 or 8 players comes in. They're all there. The squad's bloated. And personally, I felt as if Rangers had to put a proper structure in place that allowed the club to not every signing, but some signings, bring them in, have a core there that allows them to work. I mean, you see it at Celtic right now, that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from. But nobody can argue with their structure and what they've done in terms of bringing players in, moving them on, the managerial thing. Like Ange Postecoglou, Brendan Rodgers came back. It was just smooth. Whereas Rangers, as soon as one thing happens, it's just like boom, as if a bomb goes off, and it's like, oh no, what are we going to do? And I personally felt as if with the structure that was put in place, this would have been that would have happened for Rangers going forward. But ultimately, you need to get the right people within the structure, and that doesn't seem to be happening right now. And that's what I'm going back to with Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. You know, you go back last week, the timing of announcing that Thelwell Jr. is coming in to head up recruitment, the pressures that's already there. It just looks as if Rangers have been taken for granted. That doesn't really matter. We'll just do what we need to do, and we'll carry on from there. The fans have had enough. The fans have had enough. Saturday night might have just been the tipping point. You know, we speak about the tipping point with him a few weeks ago with Russell Martin. That was coming to an end. The whole thing where the club couldn't get the deal over the line for Steven Gerrard might just be what is going on here.
The thing is as well, Boyd, Russell Martin was the sort of lightning rod, if you like, for all the frustrations and angst of the Rangers fans. Everything through the season was directed at Russell Martin, and it finished in those ugly scenes at Falkirk 8 days ago. The bus couldn't get away, the manager had to get in a car, police escort away for the stadium. Don't like seeing any of that, but it happened. If Danny Rohl is appointed, and it's beginning to look that way, odds on with the bookies, he's a favourite. If Danny Rohl is appointed, the next time there's a slip, Danny Rohl actually won't be the lightning rod for the complaints. The punters will turn on Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell.
I think that's already there right now.
It's to an extent. But Russell Martin was a human shield for them when he was there.
Yeah. And we touched on that a couple of weeks ago.
That are in their sights.
Yeah, we touched on that a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I think it was the episode you were on holiday. Okay, mate. But we said that, you know, the manager is there, and you know he's the one that's getting are bearing the brunt of the frustration of the fans. But as soon as that is removed, i.e. Russell Martin is going to turn on Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell. That's what's happening. And now, you know, the owners have flown to London, tried to get Steven Gerrard to become the new manager. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says, I cannot buy the excuse of the timing's not right. I just can't, because, and I know I'm going back to it, I know I'm repeating myself, the timing when the discussions started was only a few hours earlier than when they ended. Nothing's changed in that. It's telling me that there's something else in the background that Steven and both of them have decided that, the timing's not right, just so that we move on. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that. You know, and I think that maybe Steven's asked him that he wants assurances that he will be in control of transfers, he will be in control of everything, which, you know, has been the case at Rangers throughout the years. Personally, I felt as if the structure had to move because of the turnover of managers that, you know, we touched on there, player after player, manager after manager, bringing in players, that it can't continue. The structure was put in place. That's all fine well and good if it's a success. And there's nothing to tell me that the structure in place right now is a success. One, you look at the managerial scenario that we're going through right now. Two, I don't think any of the players have pulled up any cheese that since they've come in. I don't. I mean, the Chimiti one for me, you know, you touched it, Roger. Lawrence Shankland was available for free. Lawrence Shankland, in a bad season, as a guaranteed 10, 15 goals for Rangers. In a bad season. Yeah. I cannot believe they're turning their noses up at that. By the way, I'm not saying that he has to play every game, because I don't think that Lawrence Shankland would play every game at Rangers. But the games where you'd need that little bit of quality, that striker instinct just to sniff something.
Boydy, Rangers have drawn however many games this season.
Yeah.
Lawrence Shankland off the bench is a better option than Chimiti or Danilo off the bench. He's maybe a better starter than Miovski. You know, people can say what they like about Shankland, oh, Shankland this, Shankland that. Look at what Rangers have got and compare it to Lawrence Shankland. Shankland, and by the way, you're not paying millions of pounds. You would have got him for nothing in the summer and turned up their noses at him.
And by the way, on a fraction, even if you gave him an increase in wages from what he was on at Hearts, he's still on a fraction, and he's still on a fraction of what Danilo's getting, a fraction that Miovski's getting, and a fraction that Chermiti's getting as well. So the whole thing, it's just
a fraction of what you got.
I wish. It's changed days, friend. It's changed days. That's why I need to sit on a Monday afternoon or a Monday morning and listen to you. Right, where are we going now?
I was just going to say, we've obviously talked about the fact, you know, those in charge at Rangers seem to be turning their noses up at Scottish football. Where they certainly don't seem to be turning their nose up at is repeatedly the English Championship. And also a lot of these managerial contenders, Danny Rohl, Michael Carrick that have been mentioned, Kieran McKenna, another one, all of them are in that pool. The English Championship, which clearly is a league that, rightly or wrongly in the eyes of Rangers fans, is completely tarnished because of the recruitment, because of how Russell Martin got on as well. Is that maybe a bit unfair on guys like Danny Rohl then being tarnished with that brush? Because not everyone that plays or manages or works in that league can just be terrible.
No, I agree with that. And I've nothing against Danny Rohl. Danny Rohl, as Boydy said, might be turning to the best coach in the world. He's 36 years of age. He's got a great CV where he has worked. He's worked in the Bayern Munich system. He's worked in the German national team system. Like he had a spell at Southampton before he became head coach there. He clearly has an ability to coach players, but that doesn't prepare him for coming to Rangers and being a manager at Rangers. You know, look at the guys who have been successful. Look at Brendan Rodgers across the city. Brendan Rodgers, before he came to Celtic, he'd been Liverpool manager. He had taken Swansea out of the Championship into the Premiership. Between the two Celtic spells, he won an FA Cup and a Community Shield at Leicester. He understands the whole thing, how it works. You know, Ange Postecoglou, when he came to Celtic, was a winner. He had won stuff in Australia, he had won stuff in Japan. He knew how to build teams to win things. You know, the successful Rangers managers have been guys who have won things before. You know, go through Advocat had won plenty of stuff at PSV, had been national team manager and all that. Big Egg had won stuff. We had brought Hibs back into the league, taken them third into Europe. It'd been a success. You know, when Walter Smith came back, he had all that body of work before him. He had been a success. Nowadays, you know, Danny Rohl doesn't know what it means to have the pressure of winning every week. Michael Beale was sacked with a 72% win record. 72%. He's won 3 out of 4 and he gets sacked. Danny Rohl might need to come in and win 4 out of 4. And he's never dealt with that pressure before. You know, in the English Championship, look at the start Russell Martin had. I think he puts it on won one game, lost 1 game, and drawn, is it 5 or 6 in the middle. You do that in the English Championship, you're getting applauded off the pitch. That's success for Danny Rohl at Sheffield Wednesday. They don't know the pressure. This is what the problem has been for the likes of Max Aarons and Joe Rothwell and Thelwell Stewart and these kind of guys. If you draw a couple of games away from home in the English Championship, brilliant, well done, get on the bus, have a drink, away home, brilliant. You do it here, the manager gets sacked. And Rangers need people in all positions of power who understand that. And at the minute, they don't have people who understand that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, there is times where, you know, I keep using the word project. Rangers will never be a project, but there is times where you can bring 2 or 3 players in and allow them to develop. You can. Or you can see something in a 26, 27-year-old that you think, right, okay, we bring him here, give him 2 years, he scores 20, 30 goals, we might be able to move him on for double his money. Like, and Nikica Jelavic, or things like that. You know, when you look back at players like that. But you look at what Rangers are signing right now, they're crumbling under the pressure of having to win games at Rangers. And everybody, it's a difficult place to play Scottish football, but the arrogance towards Scottish football from some are people within Ibrox with the signings that have been made is incredible. Incredible. The man you spoke about there, Ange Postecoglou as well, though, the players he brought in, they had already, their career was already up and running. I mean, they might have been young, but they were established. He brought in players. and they're from a different culture. They're from a culture that what's, you know, the obvious ones with Kyogo, Hatate, Maeda, they work their socks off. They give everything, every single day to be a success. And I'm not saying that everybody within Ibrox isn't doing that. I'm not saying that. But the whole, because of the money that's in English game, I'm not sure, and I've touched on this as well, I'll come back in a minute. I'm not sure it's a matter of life or death for a lot of the players. Like, I need to perform like in England because they're getting paid their wages anyway. That's fine. That's no problem. And then you look at what Rangers are paying a lot of players right now as well. It's the glass ceiling. You should always have that fight within you that you want to move on, whether it's to earn more money, whether it's to go to a better league, whether it's to. And I know the players will come out and say, "Yeah, I want to move. I want to get back to England. I want to do this. I want to do that." But they're not showing that. They're not. They ain't showing that level of performance that would get them back to a league which they think is better than the Scottish game, or they're outstanding. You know, so for me, a lot of players are in the comfort zone that no matter what, yeah, they'll get pelters. Right now, I mean, we've seen it before where the players are the ones who have had the brunt of the Ibrox support because of the performances. It's changed. Like, the players are kind of getting away with this right now.
Yeah,
it was the manager and Patrick Stewart and Thelwell. Kevin Thelwell's getting.
Why would a lot of money? Max Aarons is getting back to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
The Sheik is going back to
the whole recruitment.
Going back to Brentford. Cornelius is going back to Marseille. Moor's going back to Tottenham. Yeah. You know, why would they, you know, put anything on the line for Rangers at a time like this? By the way, where's Dujon Sterling? Where's Rabbi Matondo? You know, where are these guys to contribute? I know they've had injuries, but you know, how close are they to getting back in?
Roger, I mean, you mentioned his name earlier. You know, Fernandes from Peterborough.
Where's he?
Yeah, but the other thing, like, listen, the figure might be wrong, what I'm about to say, but the reports were saying round about £3 million. He's not even been seen. Like, that needs to be a guaranteed starter for Rangers. Don't get me started in Chermiti at £8-9 million. I mean, he's got to come up, rip the league up for a year and move on. I mean, he can't even get a game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible to think that the money that has been spent, and I keep hearing people saying, "Oh, I'm not sure Rangers have got the money to do it." They've got the money when they're wasting it on that.
Yeah. You wonder how long before Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marath as well think, hold on a wee minute. You know, we've spent £8 million on this guy. He hasn't scored a goal. The money on Fernandes, as you say, the money on Delo Asgard, money on Ant-Man. Where's the return on this?
I mean, let's be, if Rangers, and this is probably a sad indictment of where it is right now, Roger. If Rangers had to put their squad up for, everybody's up for sale tomorrow. For me, I think Gassama's probably the only one that they would make money on. The rest, no, absolutely no chance. No chance.
And you can see a Scotland centre half, John Souttar, walking out the door for nothing at the end of the season because he's not on a contract beyond this season.
Yeah.
Neither's the captain.
But there's another thing, you know, that was promised that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be happening. It looks as if it's going to. You know, it's I mean, the full focus is on the managerial search right now, but there seems to be bigger problems. There seems to be bigger problems behind the scenes at Rangers. And listen, every football club will be the same, but because of you're in a crisis mode right now at Rangers, everything gets highlighted, and that's what happens when you're at a big club. Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. You know, Patrick Stewart's been at Manchester United, probably been in the background and not had to, you know, deal with, you know, a lot of the abuse and everything that's came his way in recent weeks. Kevin Thelwell is going to have a lot of, you know, questions to answer soon, because that and it's no nice to say, but that shield of Russell Martin is no longer there for them. The fans are going to turn their attention on those two.
Well, 5 days to go till Rangers back in action. Dundee United, first of several big games coming up the next few weeks. So, and as it stands now, it could be a caretaker team leading them into that, because there's nobody in place as it stands. We'll keep across that for the rest of the week, as always. Obviously, come to the end of an international break. Scotland, a good week, 6 points from 6. But they were still booed off last night after beating Belarus. Steve Clarke himself admitting he wasn't very happy with what he saw. But We're guaranteed that playoff, still very much in the hunt to win the group. I guess the question I want to ask both of you is, when you're winning games like this, when you're getting into contention to get to these things, do the performances really matter that much?
Well, listen, the next Rangers manager would take a 3-1 win and a 2-1 win with two dreadful performances. So it's the results that matter. Denmark beating Greece was big as well last night, Jonathan, because that guarantees a playoff spot regardless what happens next month. If we get a point in Greece and beat Denmark at Hampden, we're at the World Cup finals. That's a big ask if you look at the two performances in the last week.
Yeah, I
tell
you what though, would you take Steve Clarke at Ibrox right now? No performing, but winning games of football. You look at it. I mean, the Greece game was bad enough, but still managed to find a way. I'm not surprised. I touched on it in my column on Saturday. He knows how to win. He knows what he's doing. He's been over the course and distance. An elite coach. People could say what they want. I know a lot of people have got their opinion made up on Steve Clarke, but an elite coach that knows what he's doing, knows how to get the best out of a team when they're not playing well. Still, you look at the other night there, the Greece one in particular. I think the thing for me, Roger, would be a worry. Scotland seem to always struggle this second game. I think when you look at the performance last night, got a terrific result, and they end up, the 3 points is all that matters. But there seems to be, the performance levels from the first game to the second game seem to drop a little. Fortunate enough that it was Belarus that we made look a decent team last night. You then say, you've got a trip to Greece, which will be, be hotter than what it is here, you'd imagine. Still in November, it will still be a difficult game because the Greeks gave us a runaround for a large parts of Thursday night. Look, they're out the equation now. They might give other people an opportunity. Look forward to qualifying for the Euros. I don't know, but you look at the Rangers. Scotland are going to have to go there, get a performance, and then come back. Hampden will be absolutely bouncing for the Denmark game, but I'm not sure we've got enough against the Danes. I'm not sure. I mean, you go back to the start of this campaign.
We need a point in Greece. Otherwise, the Denmark game is an irrelevance. We need a point in Greece to stay alive in terms of first place qualification, because Denmark will batter Belarus at home. If we don't get a point, then that puts them 3 points clear, a huge goal difference. So, point in Greece, need to focus on that one. We won there the last time. They're out. They might be demoralised. They've got a couple of suspensions. I'm trying to build up some positivity here, Boydy.
And by the way, you're right to, because you're right to, because it's typical of Scotland. I mean, I get booed off, or we get booed off, and we're losing games, rightly so. You look at it now, you're getting booed off and winning games. But the good thing is as well, I'm not totally against it, because sometimes you come off and you've got, a lot of players walk off the pitch and they've got the arrogant head on. It doesn't matter, we've won the game. But I think even listening to the players last night, the manager, he was raging. There's just a little reminder there that, you know what, we're doing well, but our performance levels have to increase. I felt as if last night the team was disjointed. There was no connection, and that's one thing that from Steve Clarke sending his team out, they would have worked on those combination plays. I think that when you look at the structure of the team, he didn't go with two strikers. He went with the five and the other two wingers kind of type things. Asked them, but it was so disjointed, and the players didn't really connect on the pitch, which would be a worry for Steve, because of the way he works and the way that he wants his team together. Very rarely does he want individuals in places that they can get the ball popped around them, or they can't go and work triangles or passes to move things around. It was so disjointed last night. But all that matters is the result. Might have been hanging on at the end, might have limped over the line, but you look at where Scotland have been. I think it was that 6 World Cups that have passed us by now, that we've not been anywhere near. We're going into these next 2 games that every single person within the Scotland setup, listen, Greece, but go there, come back with at least a point, and then the whole country will be. I mean, I witnessed that night against Italy. I mean, if you go back to that, I know we ended up coming up short, But the whole place that night was incredible. It was incredible to be part of something that you felt as if, whoa, what a chance we've got here if we go and do something. And that's what's going to happen now. I know this group of players have experience with qualifying for the last Euros, but a World Cup would be something else. You've got to admit, I mean, I think a World Cup would top it all off. We've given ourselves an unbelievable opportunity. There's a lot of hard work still to go. A lot of hard work. And as I said, you could argue it's probably going to be the two hardest games in the group that Scotland face now. Going to Greece was always going to be difficult. A few weeks ago, Roger, we sat and said, you know what? If Greece beat Denmark, then we're looking at saying Denmark were going to be in the scenario of where Greece are out it. We could, you could then, that's going to be your last game. Like same as what happened the last time. Denmark come, they're struggling. You're able to get the 3 points. It's the total opposite now. The Danes have more or less said, oh, okay, everybody's written us off in this group, we'll show you. And they've got some players that have bounced back to form. None more so than the ex-Man United player who's on loan at Napoli, Højlund. The goals that he's scored in the last few weeks, he'll be a threat. The Danes don't underestimate them. They're a nation that perform time after time, get results whenever they need to. We've got ourselves in a good position, but we've still got a lot of hard work to do.
We did, of course, beat Denmark a few years ago, and the chips were down in the final qualifier to get where we need to be. So hopefully that'll be the case again. Well, gents, I think that'll do us today. And a wee bit of positivity. Only a few weeks to wait until Scotland back in action. See if we'll do it or not. We'll see how long we have to wait to see a new Rangers manager. Longer that search goes on.
Before the next international break.
Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, Boydy, we'll let you get back to your bed now because I know you had a wee long lie this morning.
Oh, wow. No need for that.
Yeah.
No need for that. Some of us work hard.
End of October, sitting with a t-shirt on, you need to get out there and get a new jumper and jacket.
Some of us work hard. Some of us have been up. Already got my 10,000 steps in, away I walk this morning, back, shower, recharged. Might go to the golf course now. I don't know. But you enjoy the rest of your day, boys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, you certainly will. We'll catch you next week here. Go Ballistic as always. Catch you then.
Bye-bye.